Hey guys, welcome to another episode. It's Sheldon here from Headspace Hangout. Today we have an awesome guest by the name of Lexi. We'll be going through a lot of information that I feel will be crucial, both financially as well as mentally, and that's why we've brought her on board. She is a financial coach, and all the details and everything like that I'll leave to her to explain because she's a hell of a lot better than me. So Lexi, thanks so much for your time and welcome.
I don't think you give yourself enough credit, Sheldon. I think this is awesome.
Was that
Um,
okay?
yeah. And a side note as well, when you asked me to come onto the podcast and you sent through everything, it was probably one of the best organized podcast episodes that I've done now. So credit to you. Sometimes I think in life with doing things like this and other areas of your life, mindset is such a big thing and we don't realize how good we sometimes are and we don't give ourselves enough credit.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It applies to money too, which is very topical today.
Yeah, and I think when I heard about you from Lauren, like I said before, and what you do and some of the pointers that you pulled out of it, like when I started this, I never thought of cool, I'll be bringing on a financial coach because how does that tie into the headspace? But I've been going through since the birth of my daughter, I've been going through a lot of financial issues, with her going to daycare. Where do I find additional $1,500? That doesn't just come from the sky, like, so I'm currently working two jobs.
Yeah.
And when she spoke about that and budgeting and things like that, it tied into where I'm sitting right now. And I'm like, that's a financial stress. Mentally, that's every single day. That's all I'm thinking about. So
Yeah.
that turns into anxiety, depression, sleepless nights, and so forth. So,
Well,
yes.
money touches every single aspect of your life. There's nothing that money does not touch. What you do with your time, what you eat for dinner, what you do on the weekends, it comes back to money. And so if you don't have good financial well-being, it's going to impact these other areas of your life. So yes, very, very relevant, even if you may not have come into it thinking
Yeah.
that this is very, very important to nut down.
No, of course. Um, so I think let's start and dive into some questions if that's all right with you.
That is
Um,
fine.
so I just wanted to understand a little bit about your personal journey and what made you want to go into becoming a financial coach.
How long do we have? It started
14 and a half minutes.
it started
Just kidding.
in year 9 at school. So how old would I have been then? I don't know, maybe 14 or 15.
Yeah.
And I'd always had this like love of money. It probably started way back even further when I was 4 years old and my mum took me into a National Australia Bank branch, NAB, and opened my first bank account. And she gave me $100, which was
Oh, wow.
a lot of money. It's still a lot of money. And
Exactly.
my mum was very open with me about money, always spoke to me. I'm an only child, so it's like to entertain your children, if you don't want to play with them, you have to talk to them. And so I don't think I would be where I am today doing what I do and everything that ties into that if it hadn't have been for my mum having those early money conversations with me. So going back to year 9, I just noticed that everyone around me would, because we were starting to get our first jobs at that point, and they would get money and then they would spend it. And then they would go to the next week and get more money and spend it all. Whereas I was just saving, because that was what had been instilled in me since I was
Wow.
4 years old.
Yeah.
And so I felt like a bit of competition, like how much can I grow, competition with myself, like can I get my bank balance higher and higher and higher. And so we know now from research that our money habits and our feelings towards money and all the rest of it, they're instilled in us at age 7. So I think about my own daughter, she's 8 now, and I think I've taught her the right things. You would hope, being a money coach and a former financial planner, that I've kind of got all the discussions with her right. But time will tell as she gets older how she interacts with money, her relationship with money. yeah, to be continued for that. But that's where it started. And then that continued going to uni. I noticed that, I wanted to do some travel, and I was ready to, at the drop of a hat, get on a plane and go wherever, because I had the savings in order to do that. Whereas other people around me were living week to week. And so that then led me to study financial planning. And then financial planning wasn't actually what I thought it was. Financial planning in Australia is very focused on superannuation, investing, insurance, which is all well and good. But the thing that really brings me joy and that I'm passionate about is everyday money management, having really, really good financial well-being and I guess the definition of financial well-being is to be able to make choices in your life and not be, held back by money. There's lots of different variations of that, but that's really, really important to me, because you don't want to be in a position in life that you don't want to be in, but you can't get out because you don't have the financial resources to do so. Yeah, so I could sit here all day and talk about my journey and what's led here and all of that, but I would rather give everyone ways that they can actually improve their financial well-being.
And for me, that would be great. Just to go one point back. Sorry, I think what you said was very important and is actually quite sad. Just thinking about my upbringing was no one sat me down once in my life, being an only child as well.
Oh, there you go.
No one ever sat me down and said, cool, Sheldon, this is how you spend your money. Let's have a savings account. It was just, the rat race I don't know, as I got older, how my parents' finances were. But I think I never learned about money. I think that's a problem in schools as well. In primary schools, high schools. It could change now. Maybe in Australia it's different, but from South Africa, we weren't taught any of that. Now you come into a real world, credit cards look amazing. I'm one of those victims. You end up falling in more debt than anything else. And now you're kind of stuck living on month to month. And you're like, how do I get out of this based on what I'm sitting with? How quickly I've spent is a lot less is coming in. So and that's why you are here to help.
What's that saying about, I wish I could remember it. It's perfect. I really used the algebra this tax season. It's like, why don't we learn about the more like basic life stuff than learning about ancient history and all of these like really technical ways to do maths calculations that computers are going to do for us.
So relevant. Anyway. Like Pythagoras theorem for me. I've never used that in a day of my life, but I would love to know how to open up a budget and financially plan for the next 12 months of my life.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is what it is, hey?
Yeah, that's right. But we can, I guess, focus on the now and what we can do, what we are in control of. We can't change the curriculum at school, at least not today.
Exactly. So what are some of the points that you kind of, I would say, would like to address that some people tend to find financial stress from, that you think is like they should know? How do I word this? I'm trying to think of 3 things or 2 things or 1 thing that someone should kind of know, but they don't know, like myself, when it comes to budgeting or anything like that.
I don't necessarily think it's what someone doesn't know, but it's the attention that they give it. Like the grass is greener where you water it, right?
Correct.
So I was speaking to a 68-year-old this week, typically not who I'm in front of. Most commonly, I'm in front of people in their 30s. But this is actually the mother of a client, which is how this came about. And the comment that she made to me was that money makes her feel nauseous. Like she does everything possible to avoid facing money because of that feeling. And so for her, actually just facing it was like that first step and understanding, well, what position are you currently in? So sitting down and working out where you currently stand, because it's very difficult to work out where you want to go and how to get there if you don't know where you are today. So actually sitting down and assessing, we call it your net worth. So terrible name for it, net worth, being related to money, but everything that you own and everything that you owe, and just writing that down And the way that you get this net worth is by subtracting your debts, what you owe, from what you own. And so for some people, that number might be 0. It might be a negative number. Maybe they owe more than they own. And other people, they might actually have accumulated more wealth than they realized.
Yeah.
So just understanding where you're at. So that's the assets and the liabilities, the technical terms. And then you've also got the other side, which is the income and the expenses. A lot of people know what they earn. They don't know what they spend. It can be time consuming to work that out, but very empowering and very impactful to work out.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think I'm no finance expert, to be honest, but the other day I was chatting to some of my team members on the floor, and I don't know how the topic came up, and I was just chatting to them along the lines of like, do they budget? And literally like 10, 15 people were like, no, I don't have a budget. I'm like, how do you save money? How much do you pay? And they're like, no, I don't know. We just get our money in and we pay. I'm like, I can put an Excel spreadsheet for you for a few columns and I can sit down with you for 5 minutes and help you. They're like, that'll be great. And I sat down with like 2 or 3 team members and showed them literally what do you earn minus this. This is how much you have left. You can save this. And they're like, wow, I never knew that. And I'm like thinking, how do people not live with that? Like I would be on the streets if I didn't do that. You know what I mean?
Surprisingly, and I don't even think that you're going to expect me to say this, but I do not budget myself. I do not have a budget. I have no intention of having a budget. But just because that doesn't work for me doesn't mean it doesn't have its place. There are certainly times where a budget is 100% necessary and 100% helpful. But relate it now to being active. So we know we need to be active. Does that mean that everyone needs a gym membership? And I'm going to liken that to a budget. Like, do you have to have a budget or do you have to have a gym membership? No, you can be active without going to the gym. You can do hiking. You can do walking with a friend. You can do dancing. There's so many ways to achieve the same result. So there's so many ways to manage your money without a budget, which we can touch on today for those people that don't want a budget, because I don't want to do it either.
Oh, wow. I wouldn't expect you to say that. So thanks for being honest. Everyone's different, hey? That's a good thing. And that's a good thing.
I am more about mindful and intentional spending. And of course, you need to be at the right stage for this kind of way to manage your money. But you know, Marie Kondo, have you heard of her? She's like the home organizer. She talks about only having possessions that bring you joy. Have you heard about that?
Unfortunately, I haven't.
No. She's probably got a podcast actually. She's quite popular on YouTube and things like that. So I like to look at things in a similar way, but apply it to money. So what Marie does is she says, like, put all of your clothes onto the bed, pick out what brings you joy, and just get rid of the rest. And she says to do that for all your possessions, like get all your books out, pick out what brings you joy, get rid of the rest. It's all about like minimizing what you've got so that you can better manage what you've got. And so we do this for expenses. We say, you know, put all of your expenses in the Excel spreadsheet, pick out what you love, what brings you joy, and get rid of the rest. Like if there are expenses in there that aren't bringing you closer to where you want to be, why are you spending money on those things?
You couldn't have said it any better, hey? Does that include rent?
Well, I would say the joy of having a roof over your head probably applies.
Touche.
Yeah.
So with your past experience, what would you say is like some common financial stresses that you see around clients?
Not knowing how to talk about money within a relationship is a very big one. Like we were talking about before, the way we deal with money is instilled in us from a very young age, and it can be changed, but we have our like underlying behaviors. And so if you've got 2 different people that have come from 2 different environments and have different ways that they approach money, and then you put them together in a relationship and everything is shared, that can cause tension. It can cause hurdles that you need to work through. And if you don't know how to approach that, that can be a really big stress in your life. particularly because it's not something you can just ignore because it impacts every area of your
Of
life.
course, of course.
So I would say that is one. But for those who aren't in a relationship or aren't sharing money, the stressor would be not having enough to meet your needs and your goals and fulfill your life. So that can be a big stressor, and working out how to like escape that, because when you are living week to week, well, nothing changes if nothing changes. So some people might focus very heavily on how can I get my expenses down? Because that's the first thing. Like if you're living week to week, well, how can I reduce my expenses? But I would say, what about the other side of that equation? How can you get your income up? So rather than, it's very easy, or I should say, it's easier to get your income up than it is to get your expenses down sometimes, because there's a limit that you still need a roof over your head.
Yeah.
You still need to eat. You still need to do these things that'll cost money. So you'll get to a point where your expenses, they can't go any lower. So to get out of that cycle is income. There is no limit to what you can earn. None. If you can earn $40 billion, if you can find a way, that's possible.
No,
Not
of course.
easy, but possible. So I think if people spent as much energy at getting their income up as they do at getting their expenses down, they would probably get a better result out of that.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think for some people, I can be one of them. I found it very hard, like once we did look at the income and expenses, to reduce the expenses, because like we reduced them already. So like that's why I kind of went in the way of, cool, let me look at a side job doing Uber Eats
Yeah.
just for some additional money. But as well, as what I enjoy about it is the flexibility. So I can go out for half an hour. My wife calls and says, listen, I miss you. And I'm like, yeah, I miss you too. Cool. Let's go home, kind of. I can go
Yeah.
home. But like you said, if I want to earn $800 extra this week, I have to do it. I can do it. It's not, okay,
Yeah.
let me reduce 800 off
Exactly.
my groceries because I just won't eat. I'll have 2-minute noodles for the next 8 days. Like,
Yep.
no ways. Like, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to help your brain power to go and make more money.
Fully agree. Fully agree. Um, so yeah, it's really crazy. So I like those points. Thank you for that. I really do. So with finances, with your recent or your past clients, would you say that there's an element of mental, I wouldn't say well-being or mental state, that once a person is kind of in the red or not really where they want to be, that it affects them mentally in a way?
Money mindset, as they call it, is very important. Like I didn't realize this until a couple of years ago. I have always found, I've told myself money is really easy. Money comes to me easily. I don't find it difficult. But I think that that actually happening is because of that mindset. So if you go in, like most things in life, if you think you're bad at something, you're probably not going to be good at it because you don't come into it with the right mindset. I think we really underestimate the power of our mindset and the power of telling yourself that you can do something. So I have one client in particular who came into it thinking that she just wasn't good at this stuff. And I really challenged her to change her mindset around that. And now she tells herself that she is good at it. And we are noticing the difference. Like this is not woo-woo stuff. This actually works.
Yeah.
So I say flip the script, and flipping the script can tie in with other things as well. So, when you'll say, someone will say, let's go and do this. And you'll say, oh no, I can't afford it. So flipping the script with that might be, I'd love to, but at the moment I'm focusing on X. So talking about money with people is a bit of a taboo thing as well. But again, instead of saying like, no, I can't afford it, it might be, how about we do this instead? So you're not restricting yourself, because when you say to yourself, I can't afford it, that's just like focusing on the negative side of it, isn't it?
Correct.
But you can still progress and you can still have your lunch with your friend, but maybe you're not going to that 5-star restaurant. Maybe you're having a picnic in the park.
Oh, of
So
course.
trying to, again, find ways in your life where you don't need to be restricted. You don't need to be restricted by a budget or restricted by your finances. You can still do the things that you love doing, but it doesn't necessarily need to cost what you thought it would cost.
Oh, fully agree. And that's very interesting and so positive. I feel so motivated chatting to you because I know since the last time we chatted and arranged this, I've like been really excited. Lauren took some of your information and we actually did a financial year budget and plan and put every single cent in it. Because sometimes when you budget, we tend to leave some things out and not stick to it. And at the end of the month, we're like, um, why do I have that and everything? So it's been really exciting. And I just wanted to add to your point. I think where you were going is because I read a book a while back called The Secret,
Mm.
and when they refer to manifestation.
Yeah.
And I saw a podcast the other day, I can't remember who, and the lady, she made it sound so simple, like she had no problems, life is amazing. She came on a floating rug and it was amazing. But what she said was that we create our own problems. If we're manifesting that we broke, we sad, we depressed, whatever, we just going to keep bringing that into us. And yes, what you said, I agree with. Yes, if you like, I can't, guys, I'm broke right now. Like we attract that, but I battle to break that chain. Like I'm one of those people that, guys, sorry, I won't right now. I just don't have enough money. And like you say, like I'm bringing that negative, bringing that energy towards myself and that mindset. And I know for sure I need to change my mindset because I just want to work hard and make money, make money, make money. But I'm not finding I wouldn't say a friendship or like a happy feeling with money. It's more of like a angry, I want to run to it and get it and run away kind of. Does that make, I'm just going off script here or whatever the word is, but that's how I feel towards money. I'm not like, oh, I love money. Like you said,
Yeah.
money just comes to me. I wish it just came to me. Wow. What strategies would you recommend for developing a healthy mindset?
I would just start, if you have completely been avoiding money, allocating some time. It doesn't need to be a lot of time, but just allocating some time towards it. Um, it could be as simple as choosing a financial podcast to listen to just because sometimes we can feel really motivated. We can sit down and we can do the budget and just on a budget. If you are going to do one, my number one tip would be to make sure that the numbers that you're putting in it are accurate. So I've had seen cases where people will guess that their groceries are, say, $250 a week, but it turns out that they're $400 a week. So it can be that can make a really big difference with what you're left with. But in order to stay motivated, listening to podcasts is a really, really great thing because it doesn't need to be any extra time in your week. It could be like when you're cooking dinner, you allocate 20 minutes to listening to a finance podcast. And then all of a sudden, if you do that every single day for 20 minutes, that's a lot of time that you've spent learning and understanding and applying new things to your finances. Like imagine if you spent 20 minutes a day exercising if you've never exercised before.
Yeah.
It's going to make a big difference. So yeah, for those who are just starting out, who have completely neglected money, just allocating some time. Like don't try and come up with a huge checklist of things that you need to do. Just allocate some time. So all you need to do, like if you're getting started being active, you don't need to go and do 4 classes at the gym each week. Maybe you just go for a 10-minute walk every day. Like as long as you're doing something, you're getting closer to your goal of being, in this case, better with money.
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I'll give you an example. You said the classes, you don't have to go to 4 classes at the gym. So funny enough, over the weekend, I said to my wife that I want to go back to boxing because I used to do boxing just for the fitness back in the day.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, that's fine, love, you can do that, no worries. But you got a small punching bag in the garage, hit that for 2, 3 weeks, be consistent, And if
Yes,
you can do that, then you can go to boxing. She's like, I'm like, well done. Well done. You're right.
that is,
And I
I've
haven't done it this whole week. So yeah.
heard.
Um,
Sometimes though, when we pay attention. So I do spend $54 a week, which when you add that up over the course of the year, if you do 54 times 52, it's a lot of money
yes.
on my FitStop membership. So if you don't have FitStop in your area, it's a bit like F45.
Okay.
And because I know I pay $54, I show up
You showing up. Yes.
consistently. I've had other memberships before that have been $15 a week and I don't show up. So sometimes paying to pay attention does work, but you've got to understand yourself and how you work and check in with yourself regularly because we don't want to be paying $54 a week and not showing up.
Oh, of course. That is a lot of money if you look at it annually, like you said.
Mm.
So my last question before you take the floor, because I'm sure you have one or two things you'd like to chat about, and I would appreciate if you want to steal the limelight for my 2 seconds, because today is all about you, definitely. So what role does budgeting do? It's a hard one because you told me don't budget. In reducing financial anxiety, because I'm an anxiety king when it comes to budgeting and oh no, let's not buy that, let's just buy this. Like, yes.
Quite often, even if I'm not setting up a budget for a client, what we will do is we will, which sounds similar to what you've just done, is map out the year ahead. So we will typically do this in a very simple Excel spreadsheet because it is user friendly, even if you've never touched a spreadsheet before. And we set it up based on your pay cycle. So if you're getting paid fortnightly, for example, we would typically actually do it weekly. So we would have 52 columns, one for every week of the year. And on every second column, we would put your pay, what's coming in. This is much easier for those that get paid consistently, the same amount.
Yeah.
A little bit harder for those who are on commission or are based on like certain hours per week, that kind of thing. And then we would lay out, well, what are all of your fixed expenses? So rather than typically a budget would just be like a weekly amount or a monthly amount or an annual amount, but some things they change throughout the year, don't they? So to actually map it out on a 52-week map is a lot easier for a lot of people to digest and wrap their head around. So we would go through, okay, your rent, are you paying that, for example, weekly? We'd map that out, your phone bill, your electricity, whatever kind of regular bills that you have, we'll put all of them in. And then we will do our best guess at your variable expenses. So typically where we get those figures from is actually looking back on where has money gone in the past. So this is the time consuming bit, but the very important part. You can download your transactions from internet banking within a minute. And so you can get that data and then sift through it. And I've got a few tips and tricks to kind of go through that data. It depends on how detailed someone is. Typically, I sometimes do it for clients who have no interest, and other clients prefer to do it themselves. And we basically categorize where money has gone. Sometimes we'll just do that for a short period. Sometimes we do it for full 12 months. And so we then input that data. So we know on average, groceries, you've spent 354 a week. Eating out, you've spent 354 a week.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how much they're spending eating out. We plug that in and can see, well, over the course of the year, we've either got enough to meet our expenses, we don't have enough. We just know where we stand. And then you can line by line go in and see, well, maybe I'm not spending enough on boxing. Maybe I want to be spending more in that area. And so I can put that in. What does that look like? If we need more money, maybe we take it from somewhere else. The idea is to give every dollar a job in that map. So it might be that some weeks you have money left over, in other weeks you don't have money left over, but it really allows you, if you're a visual person, to really see what things look like on paper rather than just assuming we know what's going on. because even I, without sitting down and doing my own, I wouldn't be able to tell you what my average for retail, for example, is, because that's the kind of thing that we might not spend anything on retail for a month, and then someone's birthday will come up, or everyone will need new socks, or whatever it is. There's always something, isn't there? So I do that once a year for my family, typically on the very first day of the year. Good day to do it. And I sit down with my husband and I kind of play a bit of a game with him, and I say, how much do you think we spent on eating out this year on average? And he'll give me a number. I already know the number, so I can't really play. But if it's not what we thought, at least we know what areas we can focus on. So this is how I avoid doing a budget, but still stick within our limits and keep a finger on the pulse, if you like.
So the last time when Lauren was a part of your talk, she took one of those points out. So last week, funny enough, you say that we were driving in the car and she had the laptop and she's like, how much we did our finances, and she's like,
Yeah.
how much do you think we spent on takeaways? And I'm like, well, we have a new child, so many excuses, all that. I'm not going to say, because I was shocked. I was shocked at how much money I spent on takeaways. And I'm like, that's why I'm working 2 jobs. Like, I could half that easy by just eating at home. And since then, it's been a month now, or 2, 3 weeks. And we're like, no, here's what we're going to be cooking for the week. We're going to go out, let's do once a month, because we need to have our financial year goal. And just what you said really did kind of manifest and kind of help us change our mindset, because it's just like, oh, I don't feel like cooking tonight. Let's get takeaways, $40, then $80 now. That after a month, over a year, that could be one of my credit cards. That could be money towards or interest on something. It's mind blowing.
Yeah.
So thank you for that point.
Having said that, though, what you think is high, and it's all relative, of course, but it may be quite normal. And I say this with groceries to people, because
no, not groceries, takeaways.
Yeah, I know, but just to give you an example, so for groceries, let's say a family of 4 is spending $350 a week, and they think, oh my gosh, that's so much money, $350 a week. I've got my calculator here because I can't do numbers in my head. $350 a week divided by 4 people is $87.50 a week per person.
That's nothing.
Divide that by 7 days, it's $12.50 per day per person. Now, let's say you spend $2 for breakfast, your Weet Bix and your banana and your milk or whatever it is. Then you have a snack, that's another $2. And then that might be your muesli bar. Then for lunch, you're going to spend, let's call it $5, which again, like if you can't buy your lunch out for $5, that would be your roll with your ham and cheese and your piece of fruit or whatever it might be. Then for afternoon tea, we'll give you another $2 for that. We're already up to $11. So plus I've got to add dinner. What I'm trying to say is $350 per week for 4 people on groceries is actually good.
Yeah, of course.
When you break it down like that, you will not hesitate to spend $12.50 at a cafe for a coffee and a muffin or whatever your choice is. That doesn't faze people.
Yeah.
But that lump sum, that $350 a week, and maybe not for groceries, but people have a problem with that, it seems. So to come back to eating out, it is obviously a discretionary type expense. I have seen anything from $50 a week on eating out to $1,000 a week on eating out.
Wow.
Yeah, relative to income, of course. But the point that I make with things like that is you might be really focused on getting the best phone plan deal to save yourself $5 a month. You should really spend that time on the area in your life that is higher than you want it to be, that's going to make the biggest impact. So if you, as a couple, keep each other accountable and try and really focus and spend a bit of time maybe meal planning each week and saying, no, come on, like, let's have the leftovers. Yeah. And trying to focus on that a bit more. Number one, that's less overwhelming because now you only have one area to focus on rather than just feeling overwhelmed by all your finances. And you're going to start saving some money and probably some kilos as well, because eating out.
Fully agree.
So with that number, what I would say is only compare yourself to yourself, and maybe you guys can repeat that process again in say 3 months and reflect back on and feel that win as well. So if you've gone from, you know, $200 a week on eating out to 150, that's $50 a week.
So I'll give you an
You can
example.
now go to Pit Stop.
So because we Catholic, so we fast over a certain time
Yeah.
and give up during Lent. And one of the months we said, or 1 or 2 months we said we'll give up takeaways and eating out. And from I think averaging say $600 to $800 a month on takeout, for those 2 months we didn't spend anything. Our grocery bills I think went up $100 or $200 extra, but
Yeah,
we actually
as you
made
would expect.
our food work for us. And I'm like, why can't we do that? We just become lazy, complacent. You know, I work for Uber Eats, do Uber Eats, should I say? And I'm like, I'll never do it because like I know it's very expensive. Like the amounts of money that I see people buying coffees in the morning, people
Yeah.
are ordering eight coffees, and I'm like, it's over $100. But then, like you say, go to their food bill at 350. They're like, no ways, I'll never spend that.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that the key takeaway from everything that was spoken of today is just to spend some time on finances and be aware of the position that you're currently in so that you can then decide where you want to go and make a plan to get there.
What are some of the key elements that, or you'd want to chat about that I haven't asked or addressed, or something that
I've
top of your
given,
head?
yeah, I love giving people easy bite-sized tasks to complete that will give them that sense of achievement and start that ball rolling, because it can be really overwhelming to go from not paying attention to finances to making it a really big focus in your life. So have you ever heard of a no spend challenge before?
No, but I don't think I like the sound of that.
I thought that you might say that. And it's not as bad as it sounds. And the idea of it is to actually bring a level of fun to not spending money. A lot of people love fitness challenges. They'll do like an 8-week challenge at the gym and be really, really strict for that time. And are happy to do that. And so it's kind of applying it to money, not for 8 weeks, it's only for 5 days. So the other thing that I think of when I think about this no spend challenge is a juice detox. So I've never done a juice detox and I have no intention to do a juice detox, but my understanding is it's a short and sharp reset. So a 5-day no spend challenge is a short and sharp reset of spending because we are so in the habit of just tap, 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 tap. Like we don't really register how much money we're spending on a daily basis. So the things that you can still spend money on over the 5 days are groceries and your bills and your fuel and your doctor's appointments and all those things you know you have to spend money on. The things that are off limits for those 5 days are retail, eating out, beauty appointments, entertainment. And I always say that you can be a little bit cheeky about it. You can buy that stuff on day 0 and day 6. You just can't do it within days 1 to 5. You can pick a Monday to Friday. So the only thing you really need to do is stay off internet, like online shopping, and take your lunch, your lunch to work. And you'll get through those 5 days. But it really brings an awareness to spending. And it makes it a lot easier to identify where you are spending money, maybe unnecessarily as well. So that is one thing that I would suggest. I've got some clients who actually love doing no spend challenges and they'll do one every month. So it's not something that I make them do, but it's something that they, you know, first 5 days of every month, we do a no spend challenge. It's just what we do. It's a new thing, a new tradition.
Sorry to interrupt. Is that more the men getting excited for the no spending, or is it more the woman, or is it both?
I don't think it's necessarily based on gender, but personality,
Okay.
and how competitive someone is. It's a lot easier to do when you've got someone else doing it with you. So maybe,
Yes,
you know,
of course.
even if you get a work colleague to do it with you, and see the idea is not to give in, but see who gives in first. The people who think it's going to be really easy typically find it quite hard, and the people that think it's going to be hard typically find it quite easy, I've noticed. So apart from a no spend challenge, the other activity that I love getting new clients to do is a traffic light activity. So that is having a look at your recent spending and going through line by line. You can set a timer. This doesn't need to be a time consuming thing. Maybe allocate 10 minutes to it. And you want to highlight every transaction, one of 3 colors. So green is going to be for your rent, your groceries, your fuel, all those things that you have to spend money on. You don't really have a choice. It is what it is. Or anything that is really mindful and intentional. So maybe an anniversary dinner, or some tickets to a certain show that is like, brought you a lot of joy. They are green. The complete opposite end of the spectrum are your red transactions, where in hindsight, you see that transaction and you're like, ugh, a little bit of regret there. Probably shouldn't have spent that money on, that $86 on Uber Eats that night. Maybe we should have had the leftovers in the fridge.
Yeah.
That will be a red. And then anything that is debatable. It's not green. It's not red. It sits somewhere in the middle. It's going to be an orange or an amber. That again is excellent for people who are very visual, because they can see very quickly what their spending habits have been like for that time period. And you might just do like the last couple of weeks. It might be very green with a trickle of orange and red, or it might be very red and orange with a trickle of green. So at least then you know what you're up for and how much maybe effort you need to put into focusing on what money is being spent.
I like that. I think I'm definitely gonna try it this weekend.
You definitely should, and you should report back to me as well. I would be very interested to hear how you go.
I'll send you a photo, but it might just be red and a little bit of orange. So I apologize.
The good thing about it being red, though, is that that's something that's easy to make change. Like if you're living week to week and you do the traffic light activity and you see a lot of orange and red, that means that you have the power to do things differently and to get out of that cycle. Yeah. If you're living week to week and you do that activity and it's all green, then I would say you probably need to focus on getting your income up, because there's not a lot we can do with your expenses.
Yes, of course. I like that activity. I really do. The activity of, like you said earlier, pulling your transactions, and I said it already, I think that is a real eye-opener for the past financial year. That really helped me. I never even thought about doing that, because like I'm on a mindset of like week to week based on my budget. So yeah, it was really, really awesome.
Well, $20 a week doesn't seem like a lot and you might kind of disregard it. But then when you see $1,000 a year, like, oh, could I put that to better use? Maybe.
Oh, wow. Yeah. $20 is saying a nice thing. Yes. Would you like to add anything else?
No, I don't think so. But if any listeners have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Maybe we can even do another one of these down the track and go through, any specific questions that, if you've gone away and you've done your traffic light activity and you've done your 5-day no spend challenge, if you've got some key takeaways from that or any questions, happy to answer them.
Of course, Lexi, thank you so much. What we'll do is when I do post this, I'll put your Facebook and Instagram. I have gone to Instagram, very colorful, very energetic, and like I learned a lot from it as well. So please, guys, feel free to go in and they can send you a message. I'm sure you would be open to ask any questions that any viewers have.
Definitely. And if you're not on Instagram, I actually highly recommend it, because I say that I was never on Instagram before I started my business, and I only started my business account. Some of my very best friends I have found on Instagram, because people gravitate and you find your people on Instagram. I don't know what it is. It's so different from any other social media platform that I have used. Okay. So if you're not on Instagram, come on Instagram, follow me, find your people, because community and, all of that also impacts Headspace, doesn't it?
Oh, of course. And I think I did a bit of a Q&A because I've had some questions since the day I started for me and just asking me. So I did that the other day, and it just made me like reminisce as to kind of bring up this point, is that, you know, we all tend to get so financially stressed, depressed, stressed about work. We all tend to float in a bubble and not reach out to friends or family, and we end up taking it either out on our partner or ourselves if you don't have a partner. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is just to spread awareness, but also to know that we're not alone. Like, so many people think they're alone, and even I do sometimes, where I'll be like, oh, why is this happening to me? Why does I feel like the universe right now is punishing me? And then I kind of have a second thought, and I'm like, Sheldon, it could be worse. And people that living like that are more happier than me. So I try to change my mindset, think like that. But
different perspective, isn't it?
yeah, I tend to deviate off topic sometimes. Just to spread awareness and know that you're not alone. And yeah, that's one of the things that I resonated the other day with the questions, is that why I started that, or this, should I say, and that's why.
And I think it's really important to acknowledge that a lot of people feel lots of different emotions around money. So a big one that I've noticed before people will come and finally reach out is that feeling of shame that they are not where they should be, that they should know more, all of the rest of it. I guarantee you, I have seen it all. I have seen worse situations than what you are currently in. I guarantee it. And it's just reaching out. Like, that is the hardest part of the whole thing. I try and make everything so fun, because if you enjoy it, you're more likely to continue on the path and get the result that you're looking for.
I like that. And you have an awesome energy, so everyone should reach out to you. So definitely reach out to Lexi.
Thank you, Sheldon.
Give her a follow and send some messages. So Lexi, thank you so much for your time. And I'll definitely take you up on that offer. You did say on a recording.
I did. I said it on camera, recorded.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheldon. It was great.
Thank you so much. Chat to you later.